Hello, students, and welcome to English class. I'm your English teacher, Mr. Oza, and it's time to do classwork number 28. Time to do some essay prep. That's right, we have finished our novel 1984 by George Orwell, so now it's time to write our term 1 essay here. We're going to do a little bit of time traveling in class today. So, the main goal of 1984, the novel that we just finished reading, was for George Orwell, the author, to warn us about certain things happening in society. He was trying to warn us about the amount of power that our government has. He wanted to warn us about authoritarian government and dictatorships, and basically wanted people to be more involved with their government. He wanted regular people like you and me to have more power in their government. And so I think most of you enjoyed this book, and hopefully we are able to listen to George Orwell's warnings that he wrote over 70 years ago. So here's our essay topic. Imagine you got to travel back in time by 70 years. Imagine you traveled back to the year 1950 and you got to talk to a high school senior in the year 1950. And you got to tell them all about the future. Your goal is to give this teenager, this class of 1950 student, some warnings. 3 warnings specifically. What warnings about the future would you have for a student in 1950? A lot of people I'm hearing say, and for good reason, that 2020 is just the worst year. There's so much terrible stuff going on in 2020. So what if you had a chance to go back in time and tell people back in 1950 what they should look out for? What should they do? What should they be prepared for? What issues would you want to tell them about? You're going to pick 3 issues to tell these people about. 3 issues that we're dealing with today in 2020. So once again, just to recap, you're going back in time and you're giving a high school student from the year 1950 3 warnings about the future. So now I'm going to give you just some ideas. You don't have to listen to my ideas. I have, 5 or 6 different ideas. You can choose these topics if you want, but you don't have to. So you're going to choose 3 topics. One idea is warn these people about climate change. Carbon emissions are causing weather patterns to change. Storms are getting stronger. Temperatures are rising. Climate change is causing some serious problems. Maybe you want to warn people about that. Obviously, coronavirus or COVID-19 is a huge problem. In the United States alone, over 200,000 people have died from the coronavirus. So maybe you want to go back in time and tell these people what the issues are: social distancing, mask wearing, universal precautions, and things like that. I think that it would just be a fair warning to tell these people about coronavirus. Racial unrest in 2020. We had the murder of George Floyd and several other unarmed African Americans here in this country. Racism in general and racial inequality, big problems here in the United States. You might want to go back in time and warn people about that. In California, you have, and this can connect back to the idea of climate change, you have wildfires raging across the state, all over the state. In the central part of the state, the northern part of the state, California wildfires are devastating, and a lot of people are trying to get this situation under control in many different ways by fighting the actual fires, but by also creating policy that limits climate change and makes it easier for people to fight these fires. Another problem you might want to talk about is economic inequality. Did you know that the top 1% of Americans have, on average, $1.5 million a year of income? $1.5 million per year income. That's the top 1% of this country. The rate of increase in the top 1% income category has doubled, while the poverty rate in this country has stayed the same. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the rich are getting richer and the poor and middle class are staying the same. Income inequality, a big problem here in the United States and around the world. You might want to go back in time and warn people about the Trump presidency. Donald Trump as president of the United States, shattered norms in United States politics. Has been accused of xenophobia, racism. He was one of few American presidents who was impeached, and even after losing an election is refusing to leave office. So that is something that you might want to warn people from the past about. Hong Kong protests. Citizens of Hong Kong do not want to be ruled by mainland China and the Chinese Communist Party. The Hong Kong protests have been going on throughout 2020. This is another thing that you might want to warn people about. Finally, war. Throughout the entire existence of organized civilization has been a problem, and it continues to be a problem here in 2020. There are 4 major wars going on in the world right now. Perhaps the most significant is the Syrian civil war, which you see a picture of right here, as well as 13 medium-sized wars going on, as well as many other, minor wars and skirmishes. So, warning people about the upcoming armed conflicts to come would be a good idea as well. So those are just a bunch of ideas that you might want to go back in time and warn these people about. So now here are some instructions, now that you've got a decent idea of what this assignment is all about. In your Google Doc for classwork number 28, here's what you're going to do. First of all, choose 3 warnings that you'd like to write about. I just gave you some ideas. You don't have to use them, but you can come up with your own ideas if you want. All right. Number 2, read the linked articles in that Google Doc. All right, so I have articles linked in about all of those topics that we just talked about. I want you to read those articles, or like I said, if you're choosing your own topics, find your own. All right, as you read those articles, you're going to take 3 quotes. This is going to be your evidence for your essay. You're going to take 3 quotes. You're going to copy 3 quotes into the graphic organizer in your Google Doc. All right, so 3 pretty simple steps. Choose the 3 warnings you'd like to write about. If you want, you can use my suggestions. You're going to read the linked articles or find your own. You're going to do a little bit of research, find some evidence. That's the second step. And then your 3 favorite pieces of evidence, 3 quotes that you really, understand well and that you'd like to write about in more detail. You're going to take those 3 quotes. You're going to copy them into your graphic organizer. Just those 3 steps. That's all you have to do on this assignment. All right. The next step is going to be writing a rough draft. We're going to talk about that one later for classwork 29. But for now, all you need to do is choose your 3 main topics and find some evidence. So I want to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully this was useful in helping explain the assignment to you. So I want to thank you for watching as always, and have a great class.